Should we do it?
No.
Let's do it now.
Yeah, let's go now.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Remain Indoors podcast. We'll be looking at some lighter news from around the internet, having a grumble about being older, and we'll also look at the ways we're keeping ourselves entertained indoors. Welcome. For me, literally, have been keeping myself entertained indoors. We will gloss over the fact that I literally have not left this property since Sunday lunchtime. Here to judge me silently on that is my co-host, Matt Two Rumpets. How's it going, Matt?
Tell the truth. You just took a sleeping bag, stayed in the shed the whole time, and I raced till your family came back. You didn't leave for showers. You had a bucket instead of going in for the toilet. We know what you were really up to.
Okay, so, I mean, we're not miles away. We're not miles away from the truth there, Matt. So, Sunday, obviously, off on radio duty in the morning, came back at 1 a.m., and my family had gone away. It was my wife's birthday. So they all went away because I was going to be working anyway. I came home, had a nap, got up, got into my PE kit, did some iRacing, felt kind of sleepy, had another nap, and then did our Missed Apex F1 podcast. And then when Monday rolled around, I did get up and I went to work in the shed. But then as the time ticked over and I could see the sim rig in the corner of the shed, something which I'm normally very frustrated that I don't get to have enough goes at, I got into my PE kit again and I was sim racing, I think, from about 4 o'clock till about 1 o'clock in the morning. And I think I'm kind of done with it. It sort of put me off, Matt.
Oh, so you finally actually had your fill.
Oh, yeah.
You got to that.
Yep.
It's like that magical thing where you know, when you go out to the restaurant and they don't give you a portion that's quite big enough, you're like, oh, I could eat more.
Yeah.
And then you finally get the portion that's slightly too big and you finish it anyway. And you're like, oh, that was a mistake.
It did put me off a bit. Like for the whole of Tuesday, I definitely didn't even consider touching the rig. Like I was fully done. It's like that old fabled thing where your dad catches you with a cigarette. So he makes you smoke that whole pack. So that's what my wife should have done the whole time with iRacing. She's gone, oh, you want to go in the shed and play pretend race cars, huh? Fine. Go and play all the pretend race cars you want. And yeah, if she'd have known, it would have just taken one session for me to go, whew. Yeah, a bit much that. But yeah, it was good. It was nice to get that out of my system because, like I say, normally as frustrated dads, we're very restricted with our time.
Yeah, it is hard. Although as the kids get older, you will have a bit more time to yourself. I think you will find,
But
especially, yeah, definitely you will.
So Tuesday, straight back into the shed, full day's work on Tuesday. They all come back Tuesday night. And I have to confess this is a bit gross, isn't it? I have to confess that not only had I really not eaten anything in that entire time that they were away, I'd pretty much just lived in my PE kit. I realised I had not had a shower since Sunday morning. And
I knew it.
I
knew it.
She was like, we'll be back in 2 hours. I was like, oh man. Oh, I'd better sort myself out, and had to scrape off 8 days of chin fluff, get in the shower, put contact lenses on and sort of rejoin the ranks of humanity. But tell you what, we're going to bring our guest on first, and then we're going to come straight back to you. But joining us from his shed is Liam Taylor at LT Guitarist. Hello, Liam.
Hey, chaps. How's it going?
Yeah, it's going...
doing a big wave to everyone.
Okay, audio medium as well. So could you do an audio wave as well? No, that's not how I was envisaging it. No, you're a weird person.
How does a wave sound? Thank you.
Liam Taylor, who is a guitarist, a content creator, and a musician. I hope you don't mind me forestalling talking anything music-wise, whilst we wish Matt Trumpets a happy... Am I allowed to say the number, Matt?
Yeah, sure, why not? I don't care.
Happy 54th birthday. Dun, dun, dun. That's so many years. That's too many years old.
Yeah, well, thankfully, nature helps you out as you get older because you just stop being able to remember anything. So it all just seems like you're basically the same age.
So here's my fear of Tony in the chat room. Sorry, I got distracted by the chat. Spanner's living up to this British stereotype soap dodger.
That's got to be the title of the episode.
Honestly, I soap dodger, Will. the reason why that was such big news for me was because I would never go a day without a shower. Like some people can get up and go to work and like leave the house. I can't do anything normally till I've had a shower. I just got into that whole kind of funk. But yeah, happy birthday, Matt. One of my fears when I was growing older is you look at the life you've had, and I keep thinking of like, well, how much percentage life have I? It's a bit morbid, isn't it? But I was thinking, what percentage life have I got through already? And to help myself out, I don't include my childhood because I always just think of that as, well, you're just cooking. So I think of like 18 till 39 is 21 years. So, I'm about a third of the way through my life. That's how I make myself feel better. But my fear is when you get older, people say that the years go by quicker.
Yeah, they do. It is always a thing. They do tend to go by quicker, especially when you have kids and especially when you're busy. But it doesn't. But the aging thing isn't what you think it is. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's different for different people.
Yeah.
But like, to me, there was like, I was young. And then there was the day that I woke up and like, I was a little bit stiff and sore and things hurt. And, and then that's about it. I'm still waiting for the next one where like, I suddenly can't do a thing that I used to be able to do like at all. And that's going to be the next one. And I figure at this rate, barring accident, that's probably another 10 or 15 years away. So it's like you have like these, it doesn't seem like, even though the years, like the dates go by quickly, it doesn't really seem like time goes any quicker, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm with you a little bit. It's like days can drag, but weeks can fly by. There can be times like that, especially when you're busy. It reminds me of an Ardal O'Hanlon. If anyone, British people, can remember a short run of a program. Ardal O'Hanlon, who was the younger priest in Father Ted. What was his name, Liam, in Father Ted? Dougal. Father Dougal, yeah. So he did a BBC sitcom called My Hero, where he was a superhero from another planet who just came down and was just having this normal domestic life. Actually pretty good, pretty funny. But he used to say about birthdays, Matt, he'd say, on my planet, there's only 3 ages. Young, getting on a bit, and nearly dead. So I would still say that you're still firmly in the getting on a bit. You're definitely not in the nearly dead yet.
Yeah. I did forget there is one important marker, and that's when you start to fall asleep on the couch during TV time.
Oh, well, I'm
family
there.
TV time.
Yeah,
that's a big one.
Well, I'm there. I have to physically prepare for family movie night, which is Saturday night, and I got criticised for falling asleep during Guardians of the Galaxy, and everyone was like, "Oh, great family night, Dad. You were asleep for like 20 minutes." I closed my eyes for. But I was berated strongly for that, so I'm already in that zone. But Liam, you're quite young. I don't think you look young. I think you look quite old.
Oh,
ruined.
That's the opposite of what I want.
Yeah. Oh, isn't it?
I still get ID'd for buying booze though.
Do you?
So that's something.
Oh, look at your little face. How old are you?
31.
30. Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say 20. So yeah. So 30. It's interesting. So we've got 3 distinct life stages here, aren't we? So 30, 40, and 50. From now on, your age is always 50, something like that. So 30 is sort of you're just starting to feel proper, like a proper grown up. 20s is just an extended teens and party, isn't it?
At the time, I was told that 20s was very resolutely when you start to work out what you're actually going to do with your life. And I wish that people said, no, that's like mid-late 30s is when you actually start to work it out. So I was a little bit, I've been tricked there. But yeah, no, I sort of feel like things are kind of starting to work out what in terms of what I want to do career-wise. I mean, I can't complain. I'm on Remain Indoors podcast.
Yeah, you've arrived, yeah.
So... And I was in the paper the other day, so like,
whoa,
that's all good.
Tell us about being in the paper.
No. That was for Collabovirus, where a bunch of musicians in Cambridge and Manchester made the EP. Cambridge Independent did a little piece of it, and for some reason my face was the biggest face they included, despite not
Wait, hang on a minute. That requires some clarifying. Did they feature many faces of all normal proportions, but you just happened to have the biggest face of all the people featured? Or did they make your face disproportionately bigger to highlight
you?
They
didn't put like a bulge effect or like a TikTok filter.
But when you say you were the biggest face,
yeah. Well, they had 3 images that were sort of the same size, and then mine for some reason was like 3 times larger.
Well,
I'm not complaining. I
Mark
got a big
Greenow is
face.
saying
It's all good.
it is a pretty big face. That's what I'm saying. Did you just naturally have a much larger face than people? That's all. You're a big person. Everything in
I think
proportion.
Part of it, yeah.
You know what they say about big feet, big face. That's
Big socks.
Yeah, big
Oh,
socks.
okay.
So if we fast forward in this shed from your 30 to my 40, because my 40th is coming up very soon. I have a feeling with 40 where like 40 is it almost feels like a weird destination, Matt. Since you've passed that point, it feels like I am now like a fully carded up, indisputable adult. There's no longer any doubt. I feel like my opinions should be as valid as anyone's, having been here for 40 years. Whereas I've always kind of felt like, there's grown-ups in charge. Approaching 40 now, I don't feel like there's, I feel like my take is as sort of vaguely as valid as the next bloke on the street. And I feel like this is very much a destination point. And this is almost like everything has been leading up to you being 40 or so. You're now a dad, you have kids, you have your career, you have your job. You're a valid human adult. And I've never felt more like real. And like 40 is, I think, when you start to know your place perhaps in the world.
Yeah, about that.
Okay. No?
Yeah, and 50 is when you realize that none of the politicians or people that are actually in charge of anything even care about you or what you think, or you have any influence whatsoever on the events around you.
See, that's interesting.
And it's all just like, it's all like that expectation. You're like, I'm an adult. People should listen to me. I know what I'm talking about. And first of all, no one will listen to you. And then second of all of the young kids will just mock you constantly. Like they did on Community.
They don't know they're born. But so yeah, I mean, I can still look at the government and they're still like a bunch of middle-aged older guys. So you're looking at people in public life and going, oh man, they're all just me. They're all just my age people. What do they know?
And a lot of times they don't know nearly as much as I do, which is the frustrating bit. I'm like, come on, guys.
See, Liam, you're at the point.
That's the best you could do.
You're at the point, though,
Liam.
Liam, when you look at sports people and you go, I'm older than most of them. I'm never going to be an international lacrosse player.
That was my dream all along. When I went to music college, I was a bit later than everyone else there. I was my very early 20s, so nearly 10 years ago. That's scary. So when I was there, everyone else was like in their late teens, and they made it very clear that like if you want to be pop star or singer or whatever,
do it now.
You probably want to be as young as possible. So I'm sort of like turned to the other person who was slightly older than me at the time. Like, well, shall we just leave? So yeah, I get the same thing looking at musicians, but then like I don't want to be in a boy band. I want to be in any band actually. Yeah, it's probably worse in sports because there is a little more physical activity required, whereas in music you kind of just gotta look young. I guess it depends what demographic you're going for.
I think it might change for looking at movies as well, because I've definitely crossed the threshold now, Matt, where like in a sitcom, like watching what's the sitcom that was a rip-off of like My Family and 3.4 Children, the American version of it. It's very good. It had here we go. It had the guy from Married with Children in it. Come on, it's got the
Modern Family.
Modern Family, that's the one. So definitely I've got to the point where I am empathizing with the dad character, with like Phil Dunphy, and that's my viewpoint into those sitcoms. Whereas before you might look at like the teens starting out in life and go, oh yeah, I can see it from their point of view. But yeah, so it ruins like movies and TV programs, because I now can't watch any of the like teen movies. And I find I can't watch like high school rom-coms or anything like that because it's all like little kids snogging and stuff. And you're just like, what? I can't watch any of those things. So I've definitely crossed some sort of threshold.
Yeah, any movie where people have to make really bad decisions in order for the plot to be advanced becomes increasingly difficult to live through.
I know. Well, anyway, Matt, happy returns, many happy returns. And I think you're lucky. You've got sort of general health and you've worked hard to keep yourself fit. So I think that point of, I cannot do stuff is quite far away from you, because you can still do stuff that half the listeners in the chat room, can't do.
You would think that. And yet I was out on Saturday and I just like fell down running.
Right. Okay.
Like I can't even run without falling over anymore.
Okay. So
I'm going to need like one of those walker things.
So you told us, didn't you, about how you fell down running, didn't you?
No, that was a different fall down.
Oh,
This
okay.
is like the second one in like 3 weeks.
Okay, well, tell me about it. And the live stream, we're going to get treated to a picture of the gross injury as you regale us with this story.
Yeah, so basically I was running and then I fell down. Like I have no idea. I think I caught like the toe of my shoe on like an uneven part of the pavement, and it just took me down, but I was running downhill. So I was not going slowly, and I had that lovely thing where you're running and suddenly you're like, "Oh, look, I'm sideways in the air. That's fun." And then I landed on my right side and rolled over to my left side, and I slid. I actually slid for a distance before I popped back up and kept on running. And you have that. I had already had a cut on my leg because my wife has this really old chest with sharp iron projections, and every now and again I accidentally brush against it and cut myself. So I already had like one cut on my knee. And I'm like, okay, so that feels like that pretty much got torn wide open, but I don't know what the rest of the damage is, but my elbows and like my back, like I can feel there's a bruise back there. I'm like, yeah. And I was happily enough as far away from my house as I could as I get on my run when this happened. But I was able to keep on running. I was like, oh yeah, I'm fine. I get home, I walk in, and let me tell you, I had apparently bled so much during the rest of my run that my wife actually noticed.
Wow, she's oh, my darling warrior, like, what has happened to you? And she bathed you in honey and was your nurse all day.
Please clean that up before it gets on the floor.
Oh, that is dad life. That is dad life. I tell you what, we'll come back to your birthday plans and what you're going to do today, and we'll share a few of the birthday stories people shared with us in the Slack group. They've all very confusingly changed their names to some version of Matt PT55. So there's like Matt PT54, Matt PT57, and I don't know who anyone is in our Slack forum anymore. But let's speak to Liam Taylor. Liam, I was stalking your YouTube channel and I came across a video at the start of 2020 where you were like, okay, it's 2020, I'm up for it. Let's do this. We've had our ups and downs. We've went on this rocky path, but this is the year, man. Let's go. So how's that going? How's that working out?
I have this really awkward habit of stating my intentions for what I want to do in terms of content creation, in terms of music creation, in terms of life, stating those at the start of the year. I've done that for the last 3 years, I think. And every time without fail, it's gone wrong. And I think it was 2018 or 2019. I can't remember. There was the adpocalypse on YouTube. So everyone just lost like 6 months of revenue. So that was great. So that was the first thing that happened. And that happened the week after I put out my 2018, 2019 New Year intentions. So then I had to make another one just being like, yeah, so here's the new plan. I'm not going to do any of that. I can't remember what happened the other year. And again, 2020, this is my plan. This is what I want to do. This is what's going to happen in my life. And then within 2 months, that's none of that. None of that will happen.
And then you recently, if you could just turn your audio up for me, that would give me a hand.
Oh, yeah, sure.
You've suddenly gone a bit quiet over there. Such a softly spoken wallflower you are. But you've then done a recent video about, what things have been like for musicians in lockdown, and kind of, you stated there's almost no point making music at the moment. And that was like, oh man, that's defeatist.
I was trying to be a bit extreme because that's my Ko-Fi promotional video. So
Right.
Ko-Fi is like Patreon, but it's not a subscription. You just send us £3 and I'll buy a coffee. That's the point of it.
So it's like Patreon, but you don't offer anything in return.
You can offer stuff in return,
Okay.
but it's the sort of thing where like I make this point in the video. I like making stuff, and I like making stuff that's freely available, whether that's original music, whether that's tutorials, whether that's life advice. I just want to put it up there because I have a unstoppable urge to make stuff that I can't not make stuff. That's not a version of me that anyone wants to know. That's really boring. So yeah, I'm going to keep making stuff, and I want people to see it. And then if people happen to have money, that money's still a thing. I know 2020 has ruined a lot, but we still basically have a currency, don't we, for now? If people have spare money, send me your spare money. And Ko-Fi is the way that I'm allowing people to do that. So yeah, I was trying to be a bit like, it sucks to be a musician right now. Venues are closing, people can't tour, and people's losing freelance income, which means that they can't support other freelancers by buying merch. Yeah, so I was trying to have a bit of fun with it, but it's, from a financial point of view, it makes almost no sense to make stuff, man. Like literally none.
Matt, you're empathizing.
I'll
with
stop
that.
it.
Yeah, I do. I mean, our situation with my wife working in the theater and all my performances, like, because you have to for tax time. Like how much of my income from last year is just gone because there are no performances? Well, it's probably, I was easily, it was a lot of money when I added it all up. I'm like, oh, wow, that's if that doesn't come back, that's really going to hurt. And, now they're predicting, budget problems for years to come. Well, what's the first thing that they usually cut?
Trumpet players.
Yeah. The outdoor concerts, this is and the that's that is makes up a fair amount of the freelance work that I do. I mean, I think the oldies gigs will be there, the bar gigs will be there, but they don't pay hardly anything. So a lot of the stuff that I sort of count on as being a yearly performance that I do, but it's not a W-2 kind of employment. It may not get funded for years to come, and once it's not funded once, it rarely comes back.
No, that's something to consider. And with you, Liam, as well, with the amount of content you make, if you were to just turn your back on all of that, you're going, and look, and this is not a bad thing, but you are basically then going, right, well, my life is now audio engineering in like education and stuff like that. So do you feel like a pressure still to keep your content creation going and keep it up?
I felt a pressure with the lockdown to make up for the fact that I can't do my usual day-to-day employment, education stuff. And I realized quite early on that actually, for me at least, I don't want to start doing new projects that I'm then not going to be able to sustain when the lockdown ever ends.
That's not very content creator of you. Don't know. You throw a million projects at the wall, 3 people tune into each of those things, tell everyone about it, including your family and friends and everything, post it as like your new mantra. This is my content till I die, and then quietly drop it after about 5 or 6 episodes of each thing. So that, I think you've gone the wrong way about it.
I don't know if you've run the numbers on that business model, but it very rarely helps.
You sound like my wife, Liam. I don't need another one. Jesus. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
What I decided instead was to try and work out how can I use this time to improve myself or improve what I want to do creatively, so that then those systems are in place for when life goes back to normal, whatever that means. So haircuts, all that kind of stuff, like pedicures, the really important stuff.
So you're thinking like long term, medium term. Yeah, that's what we've been doing.
Yeah,
as well.
kind of. And it's just little silly things like, oh, why does my computer keep making that ticking noise when it gets really warm? Let's deal with that. We're talking about really silly stuff that I should have dealt with. No. It was an issue.
You're not wrong. I mean, the fact that I've been at home means I've finally been able to do the proper audio treatment in the shed. Like, we got it to a working state, but it was never quite what I wanted. Yeah. So now I've got a lot more acoustic tiles. I've got a bit more rubber reinforcing to stop the deeper noises coming into the shed. And unfortunately, my wife got hold of what I was doing, and she said, I'm doing live streams as well. She's doing live streams as well. She's doing things on video conferences and remote lessons. She said, can you do it in my colors? So I've now got her branded colors of purple and black adorning the shed on the ceiling and the rear of it as well. So you will see that, by the way. If you're listening to this, if you're a Missed Apex listener, you're going to see that when I have, and you're going to be very shocked by this, Matt, an in-studio guest who is going to be given the run of my shed. I know, I'm having a house guest over.
I can't believe it.
I know. So that this person, who may be a journalist, is going to have the use of the shed. I'm going to set up my studio inside, and then you'll see the interior of the shed. We won't use the green screens or anything. And then he can still remain in his bubble and I can still remain distant from him, if all that makes sense. So I've got to hand over the studio. I'm going to make sure I can remote control everything from in the house, and then we'll do a podcast. But obviously in the background, I'm going to have screaming kids and me going, so what do you think about the current... Shut up! Turn Minecraft down! It doesn't need to be that loud!
She started it.
Yeah, I don't care who started it. I don't care. Yeah, so you hear a lot of that in the background as well. It's going to be
fun.
mega. Yeah, so Mark says, "Oh, you're allowing people to come to your house." Well, we already had house guests, so I'll give you a update on that as well. Go on, Matt.
Well, I was going to say, Marcio Gonzalez in the chat has a trivia question for you, which is, do you know what famous thing happened on the very day I drew my first breath?
Okay, I'm going to guess that
You're
was...
looking at the chat. Cut it out.
No, I'm not. I'm not looking at the chat. That was the first day that the clouds from the comet cleared enough to let the sun poke through and allow mammalian life to start dominating the planet.
That's wrong. Liam, do you know?
I'm trying to like line up various timelines in my head. Was it the Lynyrd Skynyrd crash?
No.
No. Am I close?
It was, in fact, Grand Theft Football. Germany was robbed rather badly at Wembley.
Oh, you were born in 1966.
Yep.
Ah, well, there you go. That's interesting. Yeah, as a 80s football fan, 80s born football fan, that was every single time there's a major tournament. Let's look back on the World Cup winning squad of 1066. And you have to look at all that old footage. The equivalent for Formula One now is every 5 minutes on Sky Sports, go, oh, we've got 10 minutes to fill. Let's look back at Jenson Button's 2009 victory. I swear they've done that about 10 times. Right. Gosh, that makes you really old. You were born in black and white then, basically.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, you were born in black and white. But yeah, Liam, so, sorry, that was where that diversion came from, is that, yes, we've all had a little bit of time to get to those jobs, to get to those little things. So you've finally cut your toenails, added the 6th string back onto your guitar.
Or the 8th string. I've expanded downwards in range. Bought an 8th string. It's really weird.
Guitars have 6 strings.
Yes. And ukuleles have...
Yes, strings. 4,
yes,
I can't
correct.
remember. Yeah,
That's
4.
true,
So
4.
why does your guitar have 8 strings?
There's more strings. It's deeper. They made 8-string guitars for gent and metal and extreme hardcore styles of music. I use mine for funk.
Okay. Can you?
It's very good.
Is that the one in your background there, over the corner?
No, the 8-string is.
Oh, there we go. He's always got a guitar to hand. Cool. Is it a plug-in one or is it one you can just twang?
It is a plug-in one, but I can twang it.
Go on then, twang. That doesn't sound very good.
No, because it's not plugged in.
Okay. Well, I don't think that was worth
You
doing
won't
then.
hear it.
Well,
Okay, well I'll just put it back and we'll pretend it didn't happen. We'll just retcon it.
do you know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of when my mum got me a wired remote control thing, or someone got me a wired remote. I think it might have been my uncle, actually. We were at his house. The uncle gave me a wired remote control car. And I'd always wanted a remote control car, but this is like 1985. And so I'm like doing it, and then I get frustrated because I'm 5, and when I push forward, it goes, and then it hits the limit of the cable, right? Which is only like a meter or so. And so then you have to kind of follow it around. And I like complained to my mum, and I went, oh, it doesn't go very far because it's attached by this wire. And she went, oh, that's okay. I can solve that. And being someone born in 1952, maybe didn't necessarily understand how remote control cars work. Yeah, she just snipped the wire at both ends, and she went, there you go. And then, of course, it didn't work. And
Did your mum invent wireless?
Maybe.
Is that what happened?
But I just remember how, like, exasperated my dad and uncle were at that. They were like, what? What was going through your head? And she's like, well, I don't know. So I want to know. It's fair enough, isn't it? It's 1985.
That's horrible.
If you don't know how a remote control car works, maybe you just go, oh, it's just, what? Yeah, why would it be tethered? That doesn't make any sense. Off it goes. But yeah, there's you playing Liam, play the guitar for us. Well, it's not plugged in. Plonk, clonk.
Donk.
Yeah, cheers.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. Thanks for that.
Right, you're welcome.
I did tell you this story, Liam, about my band director who played in a band when he was in high school. He was a tenor sax player. Stop me if I've told you this story.
You may have, but I want to hear it again.
Me
You want to
too.
hear it again, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So this is musicians use a relative pitch because different instruments play different notes, written notes, to make the same sound. I'll preface it with that for our non-musical listeners. And his particular instrument plays a different sound for the same note than does every other instrument in a rock and roll band. So when he shows up to his first rehearsal, they say, hey, let's tune up. And he's like, okay, what note should we tune up to? And they're like, oh, could you play me an E? So he plays his E, which is not their E. It's lower. And so everyone starts tuning down, 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 down. And he said that at the end of it all, the bass was so loose that like literally he couldn't even play notes. The strings just like wobbled
Just
every
rattled
time he
around.
tried to play them. Oh, it was just, yeah, I suppose it's just kind of a musician humor thing. And Spanners is, it's almost as good as me talking about tires, I think, Liam.
No,
And we should probably
love
go on
tires.
about like music technical stories like this for a while because he looks so delighted.
Well, it just means
I've
I
got a
get
similar one
a break.
that might be. I've got a similar one that might be slightly more understandable.
Yeah, no, go
So-
for it. I've got some tweeting to do, so that's good.
Amazing. I'm gonna engage with Spanners and see if he gets the joke. I'm gonna watch him closely.
Okay,
and see if
fine,
he's twigged it
fine. I'll
at all.
pay attention.
Right.
So when I was at music college, we had there was the performance section, the DJ section, and the live sound, like the technical section.
Right.
So they work together wherever possible because DJs get free access to new music to remix. The technical people get to do lighting and sound for the performances. Worked really well. It's a great idea. So we're doing a fake gig. We did a lot of fake gigs. So we wandered over to the Waterfront in Norwich, amazing venue. I think it's still there. And we plug in, we start playing, and I'm playing guitar. And Spanners, you might know that a guitar needs to be heard through an amplifier. That might be new information.
Well, no, I think I learned that just now when
You
you're
got-
trying
you
with
got
your
that
very
about
bad
10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
I'm just checking. I'm just reinforcing the new knowledge to make sure that you're actually learning. So a lot of the sound from a guitar, especially if you're playing like rock or blues or any kind of electric style, a lot of the sound comes from the amplifier. A lot of like the crunch, the gain, the distortion, as well as just making the loud enough to hear. So they're trying out something called a DI box, which is really great for keyboards and bass guitars.
Yeah, I know what that
You
is.
plug-
We've got them.
Of course you do.
No, we've
course you
got them. We've got them.
No, I believe you completely. You plug your bass into the DI box, and then the DI box sends it to the mixing desk, and you can also plug out of the DI box into your amplifier, so you can play your bass or your keyboard and be heard. No one told the tech students that that doesn't work for an electric guitar. You've just got to mic up an electric guitar amp, otherwise it sounds like you're playing a really bad banjo. So for 20 minutes, unbeknownst to me, because I was behind the monitors, I was playing what sounded like a really bad banjo.
Oh,
And all the tech kids were like,
no.
this dude is awful. What is going on? And I'm back where I can actually hear my amplifier going, this is a really nice gig.
They are stunned into silence. That's what they're doing.
Yep,
yeah,
That's
they appreciate
horrible.
Good day. That was and it was only till like a week later when we watched back footage of the gig that I'm like,
Oh
Why do
no!
I
It was
sound-
like it was that much later. See, this is where you need good monitoring, isn't it? Everybody should be monitored to the same thing, because it's live and you can't auto tune things and you can't fix things in post production. Like, for example, a sports star deciding to turn his hand to music. Matt, Lewis Hamilton made a revelation that he is in fact the artist known as, what was it, Liam?
TXDN, XNDT.
Yeah, so
XNDA.
so there was XNDA. So there was a lot of rumors about at the time saying, is he the guest featuring vocal on Christina Aguilera's track? And he's confirmed a little bit later, yes, he was. And I think it was quite a smart choice to not reveal that up front, because I think he would have come in for a lot of more criticism when it was, when it's all new and fresh, to kind of say it afterwards like, oh yeah, no, it was me. I think that's quite a smart move. But I forced Liam to listen to this. So it's Christina Aguilera in what I think is quite a dreary song. I've never listened to it before. It's called Pipe. So you can search for Pipe by Christina Aguilera. Not, I will warn you, a reference to plumbing, spares and supplies. Between you and me, the song is a little bit mucky, so be warned. But Lewis Hamilton drops in halfway. Have you heard it, Matt? You've heard it. I forced Liam to listen to it. Have you heard it?
No, I've not heard it. I was going to tell a story about out of tune church organs, but yeah, go ahead. Talk about Lewis Hamilton.
Well, we can get to that, can't we? Since I've started it, I may as well.
It's fine. But no, tell me about it. I've not heard it. So
he
what was your
drops in.
impression?
Obviously, I can't play it on here because we'll get a takedown.
Yeah.
But he drops in and he wrote the lyrics, and he was invited to write the lyrics and drop this in. So the lyrics, you know, I've got a wild imagination. I like to play the doctor operation. Spread it on the bed like a patient. I'm about to show you domination. That's which I find disturbing. Spread it on the bed like a patient seems like maybe I'm sexing wrong, but it seems like the least sexy thing I could think about. Like, why are you there as a patient? Have you got anything gross? Is any part of you leaking? Like, what's wrong with you? Like, have you got? It doesn't feel like that. What, Matt? What? I'm just saying, it doesn't feel like a patient scenario is very arousing not to me. I'm not kink shaming. Whatever he's into.
I just sort of whatever. You know what? I'm not even going to get into it, but your reaction to that is just hilarious. That's all I'm going to say.
But Liam, you listen to it. It's not bad. He's done the job. It sounds like a singer in a song.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, Christina Aguilera is fine. She's very good at what she does. Produces fine. Songs are okay. It's a bit like trying to watch Mrs. Brown's Boys as a comedian. It's not for comedians and it's not funny, but it's not supposed to be funny because it's for people who don't know what comedy is. And that's fine. We need a place for that.
Mrs. Brown
Christina
Boy.
Aguilera exists for people who don't necessarily know what a diminished chord is. And that's sort of okay. I have a question about Lewis Hamilton's rap. I don't necessarily mind the lyrics. That last line, domination, was a bit like, okay, I'm going to be sick in my mouth now. But up to that point, not so bad. Would you rather, under the guise of not being Lewis Hamilton, he was rapping about tires and tread and speed limits?
Yeah.
Or would that be too on the nose?
No, I would prefer if he was, if he would be talking about how the tyre wear was affecting the shape of the aero flow over the side pods and how that was leading to a lack of rear end grip and his concerns about how that might degrade over the course of the race. I think we could get down with that, couldn't we, Matt? But it might have been a giveaway that it was him. That's all. If he was trying to keep it secret.
I mean, this is a great platform to launch Spanner's rapping career. I'm already. I don't know what any of those words you said were, but I would love to hear the rhyme scheme.
In the warm-up, you heard me rapping E17, and you know that I'm quite possibly better at it than the original E17 people. So
they did not set the bar very high, but sure.
You can only beat the opponent in front of you. You know, you don't berate Man United for beating Barnsley in the third round of the FA Cup, do you? You don't say, oh, well, you're rubbish because you only beat Barnsley.
I certainly wouldn't know where to begin doing that.
Right. Okay. So look,
out of my wheelhouse.
Anyway, whatever. In the warm-up, I smashed it with E17. That's my two things that I go sing songs from the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack to warm up, or rap E17 and or Peter Andre songs. So where were we? Lewis Hamilton. He did the job. He sounded like it was kind of like a sung rap. He sounded like a singer there. If we'd never known it was Lewis Hamilton, you would have just gone, oh yeah, there's some singer that they've employed to come and drop a little bit in the middle. But a lot of people come up straight out and said, oh, it's auto-tuned. Well, okay. I mean, I would imagine that every singer, and I'm not defending him here, I think he's done the equivalent of a Lance Stroll thing. He sort of bought his way into the music industry because he was already famous, already had wealth, already had contacts. So he's gone in and done the job, and they've obviously done their best to make him sound good. So when we talk about auto-tune, what do we actually mean?
Do we want to get into the realms of psychoacoustics and human brains on music?
No, I want you to explain it
for that?
as if talking to a small child.
We've got a yes and a no.
Did he sound like either Millie or Vanilli? That's really my only question.
So auto-tune is where you take usually a sung voice and you change the pitch of the voice.
So higher or lower, Matt?
Exactly.
All right. So what Liam is probably politely not gotten into because it's complicated is essentially you can think of all sound as a wave. And all musicians tune to a reference pitch. It's usually 440 hertz for the note A. So if you play an A and it comes out at 443 hertz, you probably won't notice it. Yeah, you'll notice it. You'll hear it. It won't sound right. So what auto-tune does is it identifies that and it fixes it digitally by using computer language to adjust the period of the sine wave. And depending upon how off you are or how heavy your hand is, it can markedly alter vocal qualities.
Okay, so Liam, you are an audio engineer. Like, you're a legit audio engineer. You do this kind of thing. How easy would it be for you to auto-tune me? So I will sing a song. I'll give you the vocals. Oh, you're getting something out of a drawer. Oh, you've got an auto-tune machine.
Plug you into this, mate. Job's done.
Seriously, is that an auto-tune machine?
Yeah, basically.
So
it takes MIDI, so you can play a keyboard, and your voice will come out in the chord that keyboard is playing. I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically it.
Oh, okay. So my wife, who plays piano like flawlessly, she's completely fine.
Mm-hmm.
We give her a piece of music to play. I sing along with it. It will detect when I'm doing that wrong and match me to her piano.
Sort of. You don't even need to sing along. You could just go, and
Really?
it would come out
Okay,
pitched.
but I would need
whatever
to
she's
say
playing.
the
It
words.
would sound robotic because you're not
Oh.
even making the effort to match it.
So I could just,
and that's where you get the robotic
could I
sound.
talk the words in just the right
Yeah.
place and it would sit and put it into a melody? Wow, so that really is like proper cheaty. So
Broadly.
is it the closer I get to it, the less robotic it would sound?
More or less. The this particular thing, VT4 by Roland, not endorsed, but I would be. It's sort of intended not as a correctional device, but as an effect, and that distinction's super
Yeah.
important. So when Matt talks about someone being a couple cents off, you can tune it to be correct. That is something that is probably used more than you realize in popular music, literally to make an artist right. And it's not about making it sound weird or interesting. It's literally correctional, like plaster to cover up the gap in your wall. It's correctional. And if it's done right, you don't notice it. What Lewis Hamilton is doing is an effect. It's on purpose because he's
right.
rapping. I don't want to get too into it, but rap isn't exactly pitched vocals in the same way that Christina Aguilera singing is. It's not supposed to be. Neither one is better or worse. It's a different thing that you do with your voice.
That's a really interesting thing. So when people are going, it's autocorrect because it's garbage and he needs help, that's not necessarily true. No. It's a stylistic choice.
It's this. You can use the same process to achieve an effect rather than to correct something. And yeah, his is auto-tuned. You can tell it's auto-tuned because it sounds auto-tuned, and they've done that on purpose. And that's a result of Post Malone, all the kind of that style of nearly mumble rap that actually I don't love.
Oh
but
no, I hate it. I hate it.
And they use it as an effect, and it's just a stylistic thing,
No,
like
I hate
reverb
it.
on a guitar.
Enunciate.
Yeah. Well, I think the point Liam's making, and it's absolutely correct, is if you're hearing it at that end of the recording, it's on purpose.
Yeah.
Because otherwise they'd make you do it again.
Yeah.
And I think it goes back even further than that. It goes back to the 2010s, maybe. I forget who started doing it first, but I remember it was a big deal when it first started happening.
The Paris Hilton, she released a song and everyone was like, oh, it's quite good actually. And then Radio 1 did like a really great breakdown, I think using a device like yours to really demonstrate, how well an ordinary person can be made to sound, at least in pitch and in tune. But then there's all sorts of other things you can do in post-production as well. Like I've seen professional mixers with someone's voice actually just literally changing the sound because they just want a different sound or a different pitch or a different note to what was originally recorded. And like you can, to take that clay and make it whatever you want in the studio. But then the thing comes down to, right, now perform it live, you bugger.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of stuff isn't made to be performed live, and that's fine. You just can't expect that when you see Post Malone on the stage, it's going to sound exactly the same. Or he's performing to a backing track, and then people think they've been tricked because is that DJ doing anything? Yeah, it's that auto-tune is this really huge can of worms in terms of people think they're being tricked, therefore they don't like something. And it's exactly the same as if you go to a hip-hop gig, or they're using backing tracks and the DJ has already made the track. They're basically just looping stuff. But then you don't want to see that because you think there's not a band. There isn't actually a horn section playing. It's just a loop. So are you being tricked? I'm like, well, my guitar, when I strum it without the amplifier, doesn't sound crunchy and amazing. So am I tricking you when I plug it into an amplifier? Yeah, there's a weird disconnect between what people can see on stage and what they think they are owed.
Exactly.
I'm getting into psychology here.
It's like when I used to go out on the pool with lifts in my shoes and makeup on my face and just a little shimmering glitter to make my skin look healthy.
It's exactly like
that. Trumpets.
Yeah, no, the horn section thing always kills me. I remember going to see a concert at Forest Hills, and they had, to their credit, they did have at least one live horn player on the stage. But when he played, you could hear 3 or 4 horns in the thing, and you're just like, why couldn't you just hire the whole band? Why does it just have to be one person?
Right, that was quite technical. I genuinely learned a thing there. So often you hear phrases and they just get thrown around, and then you actually break it down. You go, oh, that was way more interesting than I thought. Let's break down to a little bit of a bit more life stuff. I said I would roll back to Matt's birthday things. Let's find out how, though, our panel are dealing with the slight releases out of lockdown. Certainly, if you follow government guidance now, you can go to a pub, you can go to I believe a gym and a swimming pool now. Restaurants are open. Things are returning to normal. I think that I have been fairly consistent in that I've been a little bit behind the guidelines. Like, I've been much more conservative than the guidelines. I think, Matt, you guys have been the same. And we discussed last week how, with everything opening up and life going back to normal, you can be a holdout to some extent, but then at some point it's just weird that you're still holed up in your bunker in your house, and everybody else is going to the gym and going to the pub and going to restaurants and all that kind of stuff. So, Liam, you're a shed dweller, not making any comments about your complexion or being racist, but you don't strike me as that outdoorsy. You know, are you an outdoorsy fella?
I would love to be, but I truly am not. If I can get away with not having face-to-face interaction with anyone other than my partner, like, fine, let's do that.
Is she the same?
Is
she the same, though?
Yeah. I think she feels obligated to go out and see the world, and she does sometimes just want to go out on walks, and I'm like, why?
I don't want to.
Don't get it. But then if I'm going to the gym, or if I'm going for a run, I'll go on the treadmill for 40 minutes. I don't want to actually run around and experience.
Do you have a treadmill in the shed?
Nah, the gym.
Oh,
the actual gym.
You still have to go out to go to the gym, though.
Yeah, I've not gotten around to that bit yet. I'm doing okay in the lockdown because I mean, there's a piano over there. I've got that guitar. I've got my podcast, this podcast. I've got all the live streaming. I'm doing fine. I can do most of my freelance work here, although some of it has dropped through, but like, I'm doing okay. I feel really bad for people who are not thriving, especially people who are really feeling bad about not going outside and really need that human interaction, but they want to be conservative like yourself, Spanners.
Yeah,
and they want to be careful.
But yeah, I think that's an important distinction. Like, you and I can sit here and be smug about it because we've developed our homes to incorporate like most of our hobbies. Whereas I will not really. I've never spent lots of money going on holidays. So I've never been the type to go on like smug holidays. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean it. Freudian slip. I've never been the type to go on real posh holidays or like eat out in fancy restaurants and stuff like that. But, you know, where we can spend money, I like having things in the house. I like nice things to do in the house, you know. All eBay specials, of course, because I'm just that kind of thrifty fella. So there is stuff for me to do here. I can do my sim racing, record the podcast. You're absolutely right. And the kids have kind of got the same stuff. We've got lots of instruments here. The wife's got her piano. So actually, yeah, I actually should feel a little bad for how maybe I've been a bit holier than thou when it comes to like staying in for lockdown, simply because it's easier for the likes of you and me. And yeah, maybe I'd not considered that enough.
It's tricky, isn't it? And it's tricky if you want to be conservative. Yeah, fine, we can go to the pub. I haven't been to the pub. The main reason for that is because I am aware that there will be many people who will really want to go to the pub. Some of them shouldn't go to the pub. Some of them, it's probably really important for their mental welfare that they do go to the pub and they do see people. So I want to wait it out and let people who really crave that social interaction and are going to be damaged if they don't get it. I want them to have their opportunity. I also want people who are going to the pub for selfish reasons to have their opportunity to do it. A month down the line, I might see what it's like in my local, but I'm not fussed if I don't have a seat to myself.
Well, see, James,
it's hard.
James in the chat room, James Shelton, who I believe is Australian James, said, I remember my first pint in a pub after the pubs were allowed to open. We had to book a table and could only drink at our designated seat. But by God, was that pub awesome. Taylor, who I think is out on the which is the faraway coast? Is she out on the Florida in the Pacific time zone, Taylor? Am I remembering that right? Went to my first outing the other day, a new brewery in town with a nice outdoor patio. Got a flight of beer, or is that going to be a pint of beer? It was glorious. A flight of beer, is that a thing?
That's where they bring you like 4 or 5 or 6 of the smaller ones of the different flavors.
No, I didn't know
like
that.
A Pilsner and an IPA and a...
A tasting plate. That's awesome.
Exactly.
I've never heard of that. Why don't we do that in the UK?
Lager.
There's a reason that we left you.
Well, hey, look,
we kicked you out, didn't we?
That just reminds me. Do you remember we ran Beer 52 promotions a while back on Missed Apex? They're good. It's nice beer. It's not the cheapest beer, but you got a free trial, and then you had to phone up to cancel. That's always the killer. You have to phone up to cancel. But when you did phone up, they weren't pushy. They were completely fine, and I did mine and I cancelled mine. And then my wife was being really nice a couple of months ago, saw another offer like it, ordered it for me, put in the calendar and everything to cancel it, and then just didn't. And so my new fresh ones turned up this morning. And it's like £1, turns out like £1.80 a beer. But they're really interesting. There's one that's like spicy. It's got like spicy stuff in it, chilies and things. But I wouldn't, if I was in the supermarket, I wouldn't go, I'm going to pay £1.80 for that small bottle of beer. But seeing as she's made the mistake now, I'll take it, Matt.
Yeah, no, enjoy. That's the best thing. It's kind of like the fact that we still have miraculously HBO after all this time. And it was supposed to have been canceled by the wife.
Yes, fantastic. Have you been out, Matt? Have you been out and about? I mean, it's your birthday. Why not treat yourselves to a nice meal?
Yeah, well, the original plan, and so have I been out and about? Yes, I've been doing my daily runs. We've been doing the grocery shopping when we need to do the grocery shopping. But certainly sort of the received wisdom here in New York is that if it's indoors and social, you should probably not be doing it if you can avoid it at all. That seems to be the highest risk thing to do. And that's just where we are here. So our plan had been to go out, because one of the things they've done is they've converted parking on the street into restaurant space. So the restaurants have been putting tables out and doing outdoor service. And there's a lovely little Mexican restaurant in our neighborhood called Cena that we love. And the plan was we were going to go try dining out for the first time since this all happened.
Yeah.
And we were all very excited about it. But as it turns out, my daughter's friend is going away for the rest of the summer. So instead, she's coming over and having a sleepover, and I'll be having pizza instead.
Why don't you and Amanda still go out and do that?
I think that because the daughter wants to celebrate the birthday too, and she would feel left out of that. You know what I'm saying?
Blimey,
so
teenagers.
we'll kick the meal to next week.
She
so
wants the moon on a stick.
That was it.
Okay. Well, I went to one. We went to an Italian restaurant in Ampthill. We're all very posh, you know. For my wife's birthday, she turned 40 last week. And I was actually reasonably impressed. It was all done quite well. We read the website. It was all very reassuring. You walk in, there's hand sanitizers. There's a one-way system. You're far away from people. And if you're not, there was a screen up and stuff. And the waiting staff all had their face masks and everything. And we had a really good experience and felt safe. And I don't think we're, I think we're a reasonable barometer of whether it would feel comfortable and safe. Like, we might be completely deluding ourselves. I don't know. But actually, it felt fine. But I'm not sure, Liam, if I would feel the same just in a pub full of, like, drunk people. This was a restaurant with about 8 or 9 tables of people. You could pretty much guarantee you could look around and go to the bathroom on your own. I don't know if 10 o'clock on, Weatherspoons in Dudley, if you're going to have that same secure feeling.
I mean, that's the very nature of alcohol, isn't it? That it's supposed to reduce inhibitions. That's why it's fun. It's not the same with food. Food, you sit down, you have a conversation with whoever you're with, you eat some food. Maybe there's a waiter occasionally, but with beer or being in pubs, it's not that same experience, is it? Like, booze by its very nature is going to make you slightly, I can't remember, is it less risk averse or more risk averse?
Less
care less
risk
about
averse.
risk.
Yeah, you care less about risk. Yeah, but it felt human. It felt very human to be out. My wife was really happy. The kids had a little bit of normality as well, and I think you're right. People are going to need this, and they're going to need it all the more if there's going to be like an inevitable second wave as well. And I think if there's like a full lockdown again, if people go, right, no, that's it, full lockdown again, I don't think everyone's going to take it very well. And we could well face like civil disobedience or just this general sense of, no, I don't want to. And I can understand it. I'm not going to say right or wrong, but I'm just saying I can agree with it. And I think we're right to point out that, people have been struggling, and there's this little bit of normality. And hopefully it's the sign of things to come and not just a small window until mid-October. Shall we share some of the stories from our Patreon Slack group? This is our Patreon Slack group. I can't tell who sent the message because everybody's changed their... Oh, I can tell by the face. That's Rob Andrews' face. I know that face now. Okay, so Rob Andrews says, until the lockdown, my least enjoyable birthday was my 23rd. 3 days before I got married, we were so focused on the wedding that birthday celebrations were pretty much minimal. But Matt, isn't that just the case for all dad birthdays? All dad birthday celebrations are pretty much minimal.
Yes, there's child, there's mom, there's the furniture.
Oh, Matt.
And then there's dad.
Matt, when the kids were away for a couple of days, my daughter came up to my bedroom and the cat was sat on the bed, and she went, oh, I've missed you so much, Luna. Mummy, I missed the cat so much. And Loki, I missed the other cat too. And I missed the house. And then she looked at it and she went, oh, and you, Dad. I was fourth. I was a hard fourth.
You should have included the cats. You're completely correct about that. Cats are at the very, very top.
Jack Weddle, in the Patreon Slack group, who is a iRacer. He's with us iRacing as well. I spent my 21st birthday in hospital in the Italian Alps. In the Italian Alps. You talking about Alps? Having dislocated my shoulder kayaking. The worst bit about it was having my new expensive kit cut off me as I couldn't move my arm. And I think you can imagine him sitting there and they have we're treating you right. We're like, no, not my new kayaking gear. And they're like, dude, your bone's sticking out. Oh yeah, but it's my new gear. Double trouble.
400, 800, 1200.
As you're cutting it, yeah. Count that cost. I've had some pretty bad birthdays. I must have, Matt. I must have told the story of my phantom birthday when Nicola took my birthday away. I definitely have. I must have done.
No, I don't believe I've heard this one. She took your birthday away, huh?
I must have said it on Remain Indoors. No. Well, okay, apologies if you've heard it before. But no, there was... we had plans to invite everyone down, and I invited some people up from Essex, some of my mates down from Newcastle, only maybe about 4 or 5 groups. So we were going to get together, have a little house party. So I wasn't even going for anything fancy. One by one, people just started cancelling. So, a couple of my squaddy mates were like, oh, it's not a good weekend for us. We can't come down, like, oh, there's a bit of snow and, like, there's dragons in...
Who could that possibly be?
There's dragons in Doncaster and, like, we can't get past them, like... And then, and then the people down from Essex as well. And it turned out, like, everyone cancelled. And you're like, well, what are the chances that everyone's cancelled on my birthday? And this is only about 3 weeks before. I said, oh, it's just you and me. And she said, well, to be honest, I've had a gig on the books on offer for that weekend, and I've turned it down because we were having this thing. But if we're not having the thing anymore, I'm going to go and say, like, do you still want me for this gig? And it turned out they did. So she's like doing the gig. I'm like, what? No, you're not. This is like 2007. Anyway, so on that day, there was an England match on. It might have been 2008. There was an England match on in a tournament. I went, wow, it's just me sat at home watching the match then. And at the time, we didn't have any cable or anything. So I was nicking it using our one laptop, our one computer. And before the gig, she goes, well, no, I need the computer. I was like, what? She goes, no, I need the computer to bring with me because it's got my lyrics and everything and all the music on it. I need the computer. So she's left, no mates, no computer, nothing. I'm in a town where we didn't know anyone because we'd only just moved there. And I went, this is too much. This is too much, isn't it? Surprise, it's got to be a surprise party. There's no way the universe is so unlucky that everyone cancels and then wife goes, nah, well, if it's not happening, I'm off to work and I'm going to take your only form of entertainment with me as well. So I was completely convinced for like a week that it was a surprise party. Sat there at like 7 o'clock. I'm like, oh, yeah, I can't be too dressed up. What do I wear? I've got to be like, feel like I look nice, but also I've got to be like surprised so it can't look like I've got dressed up for it. 8 o'clock rolls around. I'm like, 8 o'clock would seem like the right time for a surprise party. And then by the time it like got to 9, half 9, I'm like, oh, wow. No, everyone just really did just abandon me. So anyway, I'll go to bed. She comes back late from that gig. The next day, she's like, oh, well, let's drive out somewhere for your birthday. And I'm like in a proper strop on the way out. She's like, what is it? And I'm like, wow, well, I thought it was going to be a surprise party. But actually, it turns out everyone just abandoned me. And she was like, well, if you're going to be in a strop, well, I'm not going to bother with it. And so she got fed up of me, pulled up on the motorway, turned around, went back home. And that was it. Birthday cancelled.
So she literally, she basically stopped the car and made you get out. I love it.
Well, she turned the car around. Yeah, she was like, yeah. She just went, no. She just went onto a slip road. What are you doing? She's like, no, I've had enough of you.
Have you ever considered the possibility that she really wanted to play that gig?
Yes.
And she made all your friends cancel?
You're thinking like me. I was wondering, did it ever come out that she quietly got in touch with all your friends?
That's where I thought you were going with it. Yeah.
This is what I'm always saying. Wives are complete bastards. I completely believe that now. That could that could well be true. No,
she sounds smart, so
it just worked out how she worked out. To be fair, like in the morning, I was really like insufferable because I wasn't a dad then. And I'm still 28, so I'm still young, handsome, and interesting. So I still felt entitled to have a birthday celebration of some kind. And yeah, it got ignored. But this year, it's 40. It's the big 4-0. I have got no expectations at all for a birthday celebration because nobody will care. Certainly not in my house. Did you have a big one, Matt? A big 40th?
Yeah, actually, not a big one really. I think that was all right, it was either 35 or 40. I don't remember which one it was, but at one point the wife arranged a bit of a surprise party for me at a local restaurant.
Well, that
invited a bunch of my friends.
Oh, that sounds nice. Cool. What's that like?
And pulled it off. I had no idea till I walked in the restaurant that any of our friends would be there. I thought we were just going out to dinner. And I was like, well, what are you doing there? Howard, what are you doing? And Paul, oh, you've done a thing, wife. Congrats. Like she pulled it off 100%. I had no clue. I don't know. Am I breaking it? There is some Formula One news in the chat room. Have you seen it? It will ruin your day.
It will do. I'm not gonna. Let's continue with the Remain Indoors podcast for now, Matt, right. And we'll address that afterwards.
You don't want my hot take on the sports news?
No.
Are you sure?
No.
Do you want me to vamp what it might be?
No, because
that's going to probably be massively disrespectful.
You're going to be like me talking about music. You're going to go, well, my opinion of the sports is that the sports may or may not continue. On birthdays then. So I was promised, I've always been kind of promised that I will get that party. And we were all meant to go away. We were meant to go away for a joint 40th. We were going to go and get a villa somewhere. But I guess that's not gonna happen now, is it? Oh well, I'll just have to make do with my health and happiness and family, blah, and not have the stuff. What good is health and happiness without money and stuff, eh? That's what my nan used to teach me. Let's end with some merchandising. Liam, I know you have some merchandising. and I'm going to talk about that. So I have an excuse to talk about my merchandising. You are wearing though merchandising from a different podcast.
I am.
Yeah.
Last post. I can't actually see it, can you?
Last
podcast on the left.
They don't need advertising.
If you're into spoopy stuff, true crime, UFOs, that whole thing, last podcast on the left are a real laugh.
I am not.
Oh, okay. Well, then don't listen.
We started watching The Wire yesterday because everyone always says it's really good. I don't know. It seems a bit rubbish. It's really old now.
It's
Watch Treme.
Go on, Matt. Sorry.
I said watch Treme.
Treme.
I've already told you this.
Oh, okay.
Treme. Treme.
Yeah, but it's one of those things. Like, did you say it on a show or did you say it in like an off-show interaction?
In a show.
Yeah,
multiple times.
I'm faking listening. I don't pay any attention to any of that stuff. This is all gloss. It doesn't count. Last podcast from the left. All right, but your merch, what's it for? Is it for your YouTube channel? For your? Wait. Is it for your? Is it for your brand?
What, my personal brand?
Yes.
Is it just my face on some shoes?
It's your
it's
personal
conversation
brand.
Podcast stuff.
At LT Guitar.
I want to try and build up a few more catchphrases before I do anything else. I might have a T-shirt that just says "Music theory is not boring. You're doing it wrong."
Yeah,
which comes up quite a lot.
Or you could quote your recent video saying, "There's no point making music anymore." Yeah.
Have really uplifting, life affirming.
So if I want
captions.
Liam Taylor merch, a T-shirt, a fake Liam Taylor wig, comedy Liam Taylor glasses, where do I go for a start? Where do I go? What do I do?
Well, there's none of that yet. That doesn't
Right,
exist. What we have is Conversation Hat merch.
Oh, Conversation Hat is good. That is actually a good podcast. The Conversation Hat podcast. I forget you're a podcast. I'm sorry, I forget about that. That is the only thing of worth that you do, content-wise.
Cheers.
Yeah, that's as close as I get to a compliment. Yeah,
it's
Conversation
the one
Hat.
that requires the least effort on my part as well. So it's nice that it's the good
Get
one.
Matt on. Get Matt on Conversation Hat. He'll be good on
We
Conversation.
do need to sort that out. We're building up a backlog at the moment, so we
Yes.
can record and it won't go out until the comedy clubs open in 2025. But yeah, we'll do that at some point.
Brilliant.
We've just launched our new TeePublic site for Conversation App Podcast. We didn't rebrand. We just updated the logo. We got an actual graphic designer, friend of mine, Cheyenne Betts, who's really amazing. She made the logo that I made, except it's good now. It's not just some guy who thinks he knows how Photoshop works doing his best. It's an actual logo.
So hang on, you hired a person to make your logo?
Yeah.
Oh, can you give me a contact?
Yeah.
Sorry,
100%.
I only mention it now.
I'll make a note of that.
I know. Well, this is the thing. I could say to myself, "Oh, make sure you say that to Liam afterwards," and then I just wouldn't. So everybody gets treated to me asking for an introduction. So you've got the logo, and what's the logo going on?
So we got T-shirts, mugs, face masks, all the usual
face
stuff.
Masks, yeah.
We've got some really funny face masks. We've got one that says "Second Wave Y'all." If you want to be a real arse about it, if you want to get really smug for that second wave, you get a second wave y'all mask. We've also got a mask that says "Oh F word" and the F word is expletive. So that's another hilarious coronavirus jape for you.
Swearing
We've
can
also
be
got
funny.
one that says "cough cough" on it.
Oh, come
So
on. That's not
or you
good.
can just get the podcast logo if you want. TeePublic, Conversation App Podcast. We also have a few show quotes on mugs. And we've got T-shirts because the tagline is a podcast for geeks, artists, and terrible people. We've got ones that just say geek or artist or terrible person on it. We've like immediately sold a terrible person jumper, which I think is amazing. Yeah. So whether you want to get really smug with your choice in masks, or if you just want to wear some nice bright pink podcast,
Tell me where to go. Tell me where to go.
I'm gonna look up the proper URL, but the website is TeePublic.
Okay.
So
So
it's teepublic.com/stores/conversation-hat.
The hyphen ruins it. Yeah. Stores.
Does ruin it a bit.
Yeah. So for us, it's much easier. missedapexpodcast.com/buy stuff. There we go. I feel like, Matt, like we've won that URL battle of like where to go.
Yeah, no, the ours is definitely the more memorable of the two, I would say.
So we've also got face masks because that's the way to go. That's what everyone's sort of after at the moment. But the site is really good, actually, Redbubble. So go and check it out, missedapexpodcast.com/buy stuff. And I know people say this all the time, like, oh, I've been inundated with people asking me to do this. But we have literally had, over the years, people always saying, can we get some Missed Apex, in particular, podcast stuff? So there's a huge range of stuff on there. And we've actually sold quite a bit already, Matt. So, yeah, quite interesting. There's been a reasonable uptake. And we haven't even promoted it on the show yet.
Yeah, well, I think the demand was always there. People like the show, and they want to reflect that with a T-shirt or a sticker, or whatever. But I'm excited to see Taylor said her mask is shipped, and she's in the USA, so it's not just a UK thing.
Oh no, it's worldwide. So Taylor, we would love a picture the second you get that, because the site I've used is Redbubble, so they've got a reputation for having decent quality stuff. The profits are like of 120%, you get 20%. So I'm trying to think of, I don't want to do the maths on that. So it's like 1/6, whatever the percent. Yeah, 1/6. You get 1/6, but there is zero effort as far as like manufacturing or posting and everything. So that's why I had to go for it that way.
If you're buying merch off creators, buy in bulk. This is better for everyone. It's only money. It's all
only
good.
money, yeah.
Speaking of, just FYI, just so I can win, there's a sale on TeePublic right now. Like literally now, 30% off most stuff.
Well, there you go.
Just saying.
There's no sale on our stuff, but it's Missed Apex and not some weird improv podcast. So there we go.
Yeah, but you don't have satirically smug face masks, so really.
No, we don't. Ours are all quite seriously. But the reason I would have done Remain Indoors ones, so I'll end the show on this. I would have done Remain Indoors ones, Matt, but I really think, well, we've got two choices. Do we just keep the name because A, another lockdown might happen, and B, it's just what we're called now? Or do we make a change like we did with Dad's View, and changing it to Dad Hub? Do we make that change and go, right, let's go change all the branding now? I'm erring on the side of, I'm just so used to it being the Remain Indoors podcast.
Yeah, it seems like it's going to be hard to come up with a name that everyone's going to be happy with and make a change. Plus, Remain Indoors is a pretty good name.
Yeah.
Like.
What do you think, chat room? I'll just change the jingle bit at the beginning. We could say, let's change the. Let's try now. Here we go. Oh, Liam Taylor made this music. Hi guys, and welcome to the Remain Indoors podcast, where we extol the virtues of the stuff you've got indoors. We have a grumble when required, and we expose our prejudices by talking too much and oversharing. That could work. That could really work. All right. That's it. I think we'll just... Yeah, go on then.
Can I offer a suggestion?
Okay.
If you do change the name, why not just have merch that said, I remained indoors? So it's past tense, but it's still referential to the original show. So something that only like the original fans get.
Nice.
And they get to be smug about that when the newbies come to the live show or whatever. I'm just assuming you're going to do live shows in 2025 when the comedy club's open.
So when people are all critical of the show in the chat room or something, Lucas and Taylor and Simon and Mark will go, shut up, rookie. I was here during COVID. Yeah, I know the roots of the
Big
thing.
Up, I got the swag.
I like it. Well, you are Liam Taylor, which is quite a common name. But you are at LT Guitarist, which is difficult to spell, but that's what it is. If we search that, we'll find you everywhere. You'll find me
everywhere. I'm Liam Taylor Guitar on YouTube, but if you search LT Guitarist, I'll show up.
Yeah.
I'm also going to say ltguitarist.com is coming very soon. And now that I've said that publicly, I actually got to do it.
Yeah, you got to buy it because someone will snap up that
Gotta
URL
actually do it.
and hostage you. Matt's doing it right now. That's why you can hear the typing. That's what he's done. You have an OnlyFans as well, where you do a lot of tasteful bikini shots and burlesque.
It's pronounced OnlyFans, but it's spelled Ko-fi, ko-fi.com/LT Guitarist. Just buy me a coffee.
Nice.
Just send me money to buy me a coffee.
And go check out his content. Here's a trick, right? Right. Go to his YouTube at LT Guitar. Pick a couple of videos, put it on the background while you're doing something else, and you'll be hooked in. He's an infectious gent, and we love having you involved in our podcast project. Go find him.
Watch my 7-hour live stream from yesterday.
Oh my God.
I am emotionally exhausted from that.
Why didn't you just do several smaller streams over a longer period
of time?
Time? It just seems too
I
much.
do those anyway.
It's like Le Mans 24. I'm just like, it's just too many hours. After 3 hours, you're like, well, that was fun. I've seen a good amount of racing. Yeah. Even after 4 hours.
I wrote 6 songs in 7 hours.
You did a live
And recorded them.
composing. All right. Well, that doesn't sound fun, but you can check it out if you're into that kind of thing. Liam Taylor, thank you. And Matt Trumpets, happy birthday. You can be found at MattPT55. And you can email Matt as well. MattPT55
Yes, you can do. I love
Google.
getting emails.
MattPT55 at google.com. There you go.
Yes.
Although you should change your Twitter handle to at Matt Trumpets. You should do that.
I should just make it Matt Trumpets next to my @ and then that would make sense to everybody.
Why don't you make the name Matt Trumpets, but keep that at MattPT55?
That's what I just said I should do.
That's a great idea I just had. Brilliant. And I'm
Yes.
at Spanners Ready, and the show is at Indoors Remain, and that is the wrong theme music. Oh well.
Is that because we're going to talk about the F1 thing
No,
now?
I don't want to talk about it. I really don't want
It's
to.
horrible.
Oh man. Oh well, wrong theme music. It's better than that Liam Taylor garbage we do in the intro. That's-
Feelings. Ow.
You don't have feelings. You're a shed
Not
dweller.
anymore.
Not anymore. All right, bye everyone. I guess